When you're trying to ascertain somebody's character, somebody's personality, what they're truly, truly like behind closed doors, who do you believe? Do you believe what people say about them, hearsay, what you read in the papers, what you see on television, what you see from mainstream media? Or do you go by your own visceral experiences? Do you go by your own interactions, your own actual real encounters with the individual? Or perhaps maybe it's best to understand somebody through their family. What does that person's kids think about them? What does their family think about them? What does their family represent? What are they like in real life? Or maybe you just go by what the people closest to them say about them. I don't think it would be too far-fetched to say that President Donald Trump definitely creates strong, polarizing opinions about who he is, what's he all about, and whether or not you can trust him. Especially now that we're heading into the biggest election of our lives, there's a lot of things, a lot of opinions that are differing, that are talking about who President Donald Trump is. I'm going to share with you a video from one of his closest friends, Dana White, one of the most successful people in our country. I'm also going to share with you another video of a reporter talking about Donald Trump. And then I've got more for you. I promise you, if you stick with this video and watch it the whole way through, it will be worth your time and you will not be disappointed.
I think you're a very self-aware man, and you support Donald Trump because he supports you, but I'm sure you also...
Well, he and I have become really good friends.
Right. Really good friends. Why do you think people have been trying to kill him?
Man, this whole thing is so crazy. The narrative that has been flipped on Donald Trump is one of the craziest things that I've ever seen, yet at the same time, brilliant and like a masterpiece in what they've done to this guy. First of all, he's a racist, right? They say he's a racist.
They say that, yeah.
Show me one video, 1 ounce of proof where he has ever acted like a racist. And one of the things that he's said to me, he said, let me tell you what, I've been in the hotel business my whole life. And in the hotel business, people from all over the world work for you. Never been called a racist until I became a Republican and ran for president, right? I mean, and you talk to anybody of any race or color that knows him and has known him for years, they love him. I mean, there's a clip of Mike Tyson. There's a clip of Mike Tyson where he says, yeah, I'm voting for Donald Trump. What are you going to do about it? He's on a podcast with some dudes, and they're like, what are you going to do about it? He's like, well, I'll disagree with you. He's like, okay, so what? What are you going to do? And then he's talking about Donald Trump. He's like, yeah, you'll vote for Donald Trump because he's made you a lot of money. He's like, no, I made him a lot of money, Mike said. Right?
Right. That's an interesting way to look at it.
And you could interview tons of people, without getting overly political. When you look at the guy, right? Think about growing up. Both of you probably have known people that have grown up in wealthy families, right? And the families are usually a shit show. It's a total mess. The kids are on drugs or fucked up, or they hate their parents and all this stuff. Look at Donald Trump's family. The kids adore him. They're all really nice people. I mean, Ivanka Trump is one of the nicest people that you will ever meet. And her husband, Jared Kushner, couldn't be any classier. Really, really good human beings, and as is the rest of the family. But the narrative that has been flipped on this guy has been unbelievable. And I truly believe when you talk about the attempts on his life, I think when you are far left, it's a little nutty. There's some nutty far rights too, but the far lefts they're out there. Where I sit, everybody thinks I'm some kind of hardcore Republican. I'm right down the middle. I'm for common sense. There are a lot of things about me that are I would consider liberal, and there's a lot of things about me that I would consider conservative. But I'm all about common sense, and I don't judge people by their politics. I judge people whether are you a douchebag? Okay, right. If you're a douchebag, I probably don't like you.
Yeah.
If you're a Democrat, I could give a shit who you vote for. That's the other thing that I don't like. I don't like people who judge people by who they vote for. This is America. You can vote for whoever the hell you want to, right? And or your religious beliefs or your whatever. I don't care about any of that stuff. Right. Are you a good person or are you not a good person? Mm-hmm. And I can tell you this from 20 years of experience. Donald Trump is a good person. I would never back a guy who was a racist or a piece of shit or somebody that wanted to start World War III.
I would love to get your initial thoughts on what Dana White just said there. I would have to be remiss if I didn't say, I'd be lying, I think, if I didn't say that I'm judging people for voting for Kamala. I just don't absolutely get it. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. But I would love to get your comments on what you thought of Dana White, especially when he talks about his family, talks about being in the hotel industry, and talks about all of a sudden all of these maligned, derogatory things that were hurled at Trump only started once he switched from Democrat to Republican, which he has called now the party of common sense. Hard to argue with that given what's been happening over the last 4 years. Now, I want to share you another video of a New York Post reporter talking beautifully about when he came to the realization that everything they've said about Donald Trump has been skewed, biased, and unfair. Watch this.
How I used to kind of despise Trump and how I ended up just seeing him for who he is, being just a flawed individual. And part of that had to do with the good people on both sides lie that was perpetuated by the media. For many years, I was a Democrat. I was someone who would watch the mainstream news and felt like I was being informed. But then I became curious about Donald Trump as I was talking to more and more people about him. And that's when I came across the good people on both sides accusation as being an actual lie or misrepresentation of what he stated. And when I watched in full context where he was basically putting down the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists who showed up with tiki torches, I realized that the media purposefully misframed what he was stating. And he was actually relatively clear as far as who he was talking about was good. The people who were protesting for and against the statue being up of Robert E. Lee. And he was even more specific as far as the people who weren't violent, who were protesting on both sides of the matter. So I realized at that moment, if the media can lie to me about this for years upon years, claiming that he said something that he clearly didn't say, and if you just extended that footage about 30 seconds or so, you would see it, then what else are they lying to me about? And that's what led me to become more independent-minded, eventually leaving the Democratic Party to become an independent and just asking questions about the media that we consume and bipartisan curiosity. Am I making determinations politically because of how I feel, or is it because of what is true? By how I feel, who is making me feel this way? Is someone propagandizing me, trying to manipulate my emotions into feeling a particular way about someone, regardless if it's someone on the left or right? I became very conscious of my emotions and very conscious of any sort of manipulation attempt to get me to sway in one direction or another for political gain. I also considered, when it comes to Donald Trump, if he is evil, then why lie about him? Because someone who's truly evil, you just tell the truth about them. The truth says everything. So is he really that evil? Is he someone that you can disagree with? I have disagreements about him. Is he someone that you have to love? You don't have to love him in order to vote for him. Is he someone that's flawed? Absolutely, he is flawed. But is he evil? Is he the next Hitler? Is he someone who's going to bring an end to democracy as we know it? That's categorically false. I see no evidence for it. And the 4 years that he was in office, I see no evidence for it. So I am very much so a pragmatic voter.
This is exactly what our forefathers, the founders of our great nation, the great thinkers, philosophers, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Walt Whitman, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and the like, Alexander Hamilton, Thoreau. Our sovereignty is our critical thinking. This is what Aristotle talked about 2,000 years ago: audience, purpose, message, the rhetorical lens, ethos, pathos, logos. When you understand how to deconstruct a message, how to critically think about something by alleviating yourself of your internal and external biases, you can see the actual truth, and nobody can pull the wool over your eyes. And they're not stopping. They are creating sheets and sheets of wool in the manipulation propagandist factory known as corrupt fake media news. I shared a video just the other day of Obama spreading unfounded, egregious lies about Trump at his rally when there was a medical situation, and he was trying to convince his audience. This is Obama, a former president who had 2 terms, who somebody looked up to, so many people were inspired by, which I regret every single day of my life, actually voted for in 2012, if you can believe that. Tried to make out that Donald Trump was acting strange and bizarre, that he wasn't with it, that he started swaying back and forth to music, when it was categorically false. It was, such an egregious, foul lie. The wool is coming out in major sheets to fold over every American's eyes. And if you don't believe me, check out this clip that was just posted last night by CBS, the same corrupt network propagandist fake news corporation that edited the CBS 60 Minutes segment with Kamala Harris. Watch this.
Election day is just over 2 weeks away, and the fight for every single last undecided vote in battleground states is intensifying. Vice President Kamala Harris is targeting disaffected Republican voters by hitting the trail with Liz Cheney in the crucial blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Cheney was a powerful Republican congresswoman, and today she called Harris a responsible adult. As for former President Donald Trump, he was back in North Carolina again, pushing false claims about FEMA and immigrants. That's after he spent the weekend slinging a crude insult at Harris, engaging in lewd locker room talk about the late golfing legend Arnold Palmer, and staging a campaign stunt at a Pennsylvania McDonald's.
Objective journalists who obtain integrity and follow the maxim of just the facts, reporting the truth without any partisan biases or anything. This is naked partisanship. You tell me in the comments which segment, which presidential candidate got more positive reporting and which one got more negative. Listen to the adjectives, the modifiers: crude, lewd. These kinds of words are not meant to be in objective news reporting in our country. That's not the kind of biased language that has any place, especially when we're only a couple weeks out from an election. And they're doing it with zero shame. I mean, zero. In naked public for all to see and hear. Sadly, these corporate media entities still get millions of views, still get a very, very far, wide, broad reach. I can say categorically on the record, I truly believe it is the only sole reason this election is even close. When I think you and I both know, thank God for independent media organizations, grassroots, like myself and others, and thank you for being here and watching this. If it wasn't for you and me being able to see through this stuff, there's a chance that this DEI hire, who is completely, wholly unfit for office, is the most dastardly, disastrous, worst thing that could ever happen to our country, is not going to take that seat. I would truly appreciate if you could let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I would appreciate 100 times more if you could tap the thumbs up, which is free, doesn't cost you anything. Do it right now, please. Why? Because more Americans need to see this, especially before the election. This is not a vanity request. I could care less if I have zero, negative 1,000 likes on my videos. It does nothing for me. When you tap the like button, it sends a signal to the algorithm. The algorithm then pushes the video out to more people. The more American citizens that see the truth and understand what's really happening here, the more informed and better decisions they make, especially at the ballot box. That affects you. That affects me. That affects our children, our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, and the future prosperity of this glorious republic. Thank you so much. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here if you haven't seen them yet. Make sure you tap my face right there if you want to follow and subscribe. It's free. I highly recommend that. And as always, may God bless you and may God bless America. I'll see you soon.